What's up, guys? Like 1 minute of announcements here. I'll wave my hands in the air if you just want to pan over this. And so you can jump right over that. First of all, thanks to everybody watching. I said I was going to turn monetization on. I turned it on. A couple of you gave feedback saying you were getting like 9,000 ads. I've spoken with other creators about like, hey, does this adjust over time? What does this do? And they said actually like placing. So from what I've heard and what I've been able to see, Brian's channel among others, letting YouTube automatically place ads actually long-term results in more watch time, more views, which tells me that like their algorithm eventually is better at placing ads than I am, because like the thumbnail and the title is more like, that's about like click through and all of that's YouTube stats, but like the watch time and like the comments section, that's you and me, and so that's us. And so I just wanted to say like, during the first week especially, like it's really hard to tell what it's doing because like on my back end I don't really get the same stats I would get on like work to game. So I'm watching it, and then we're gonna watch over this kind of first week, and then we'll adjust if needed. I only get so many checkboxes on the back end unless I want to go into like full manual, and then I have to like try to guess where things should go. So I'd really prefer their system to do it if possible. Second of all, we had a great stream this week with Sandry. I'm uploading my piece. Went live yesterday here. It was way longer than intended. That's my fault. Future ones won't be that long because I won't misclick and put us into Maradon. We accidentally ran the first dungeon of Final Fantasy and the first dungeon of WoW, but in between we accidentally ran Maradon, and that's my fault. So they won't be that long in the future, and like format wise, like that'll adjust, and hopefully I'll get better at it. And then the last piece is that Ethis will be live with me on Tuesday at 1 p.m. Central to talk about lore, if you guys want to come hang out live. Okay, everybody that didn't want to see announcements, let's talk about the thumbnail. Let's talk about, is it worth it? Is it too late to get into a game? If you want to talk about like, is it too late to get into a specific game at this specific time, that's really a video that kind of has to constantly be maintained, constantly be updated, because every game is at a different state at every time, and what a new player would experience will be different. And so that's why you'll see people say like, is this game worth it in 2021? But they said, is it worth it in 2020? And they'll say, is it worth it going into this expansion or into this patch or into this next PvP season, or depending on the game, like there will be all these different kind of on-ramp moments, and people say, is now worth it? But I wanted to talk a little bit about like just the general concepts behind like, is it worth it? Did I miss too much? And this parlays partially also into like, as a existing player, when the devs change the new play experience, does it devalue what I did? Does it take away from me being here in the before times? Like, does that make sense? And so I think it's kind of a two-pronged thing. So for the new player, I would say, yes, no time like the present. Waiting longer won't make it any better. So like, just hop in. When in doubt, hop in. There's very few games that like hopping in later is better. Occasionally there are these brief moments where like they're going to have a free campaign, or they're going to like, occasionally there are these moments where like something is shifting, but as a general rule, sooner's better. And you can't go back in time. So now is the best time. Oh, you missed it. Now is the best time. Oh, you missed it. Now is the best time. Like the present. Go, go, go. Hit download. Get started. That is the best time to start a game. You can't do anything about what you missed. But like, there are games that have times where they have like new player campaigns, free login campaigns, catch-up mechanics, you coming in during a week where like for every hour you're going to get 1 hour of progress, but if you waited a week you'd be getting double progress, and you're like, well, I only have so long to play. Okay, well, wait for the double progress to kick in. But if you have like all the time in the world, if you somehow have created infinite time, you put your time in here, and then you're just that much further when the double time kicks in, because games get slower as you level. So like, as a general rule, just hop in. The big new thing will probably pass you by. The very first event, the very first big thing, you probably won't be able to get high enough up the experience curve for anything that targets in-game players. But that's okay. Just watch it pass over you. You won't know what it means. You know, waiting later isn't going to make it easier to get to that one. And catch that second one. Catch that one that's off in the horizon, and aim for that, and set yourself at kind of like a healthy, I'm going to enjoy everything along the way, and I'm going to get to that one. And if that one's coming up too quick, aim for the third one. And so like, as a general rule, I would say, yes, it's always worth it to get into a game. If a game is ever going to die, if a game is ever going to end, it's very rare that that's a literal end or a literal die. If that kind of community around it, if we knew that date in advance, that date is only getting closer. So if you want to enjoy it, hop in now and get there. It's very rarely that you're the guy who joins the day before it dies. Obviously that happens to somebody, but like statistically, it's very rare. And if it does happen to you in one game, probably not going to happen to you again. Like that's lightning striking, very, very rare. Now, one of the ways that games go ahead and help make this easier for you is you don't have to do everything that the people before you had to do. They may have had the level grind of the first X levels of a game set to 40 hours, but now that it's X plus Y and the game is centered on Y, they're going to take the X levels and they're going to compress them down for you. That's old content. It's legacy content. They're going to help you kind of blow past that. You're not going to get the same amount of experience that they did, but you're very much going to just kind of binge it. Imagine if like you had to go back and watch all of the movies of a franchise to get into the final one, but instead they did like hey, there's going to be this kind of before the movie for 30 minutes and we kind of sum it up for you, right? They're going to take through what they feel is enough, and different games handle that in different ways. New player experiences vary across the board, but they're generally going to have some abridged, shortened version. You're probably going to have to augment it with things like YouTube to know A, what you missed, B, what's going on in the lore, and C, is there anything you should go back and do? Is there anything that's extra worth it? You're probably going to have to ask people that were here from when that was more relevant to be like, oh my gosh, you don't want to miss this. But all that stuff, like, there's a better version in the current one. So if you do that and you want more of it, go back, but otherwise just do the new one. Like the new one's better. They learned from the first one. It's going to be better. It's always better. The current in-game is always, in theory, the dev's best attempt. They never aim to make a game worse. Now, they don't always hit it, but that's always the goal. So if you're looking to join a game, look at where it's at in its current content, blast through the old stuff, get to the current. Is the generally like that's generally what devs are doing, and that may not be what we want to hear as existing players. We're like, don't blast through it, it's the journey. But like the devs shorten the experience curves, they shorten the number of levels required, they shorten the number of side tasks you have to do. That's the message they're sending, that it is not worth as much as getting you into current content. You can always go back and do that stuff in modern games. There was a time when they used to have to delete stuff to make room for the new. Those days are long gone, so like it's very rare that something's truly gone. You can usually go back and experience it in some sort, and if it is truly gone, it was meant to be seasonal. It was established as that ephemeral thing. Do this before it's gone. Usually it's well announced, and there's like a FOMO to it, and so like it's not that they're trying to deny future players from the experience as much as trying to create a spectacle, a moment for the current players that can be appreciated and treasured. So they're not really thinking the future like, haha, got those guys. We don't know who they are yet, but we got them. It's a lot more about like, we want you, the people with me here and now, to have something that's yours and uniquely yours. And that's the goal of that intent. Now, to existing players, though, it can feel really weird. Like, I leveled to level 60 in vanilla World of Warcraft, and now you can level all the way through basically what was like 15 years of expansions in like 4 to 12 hours. Does that cheapen my main? Does that cheapen? Not really. So the way I would kind of explain that is that basically what ends up happening is that you have to think of this like a series of expansions where you got the opportunity to kind of carry your character over. But it's a series of individual solo games. In modern MMOs, which is what this channel really talks about, think of it like you bought like a God of War game and then a sequel to that God of War game, or you bought an Assassin's Creed game and then another Assassin's Creed game, right? And so you kind of, you know the mechanics and all that, and you get to carry your cosmetics forward, and you get to start with your character name, you know, maybe they've got some mounts and all that, but they're going to toss your gear out, they're going to redo your combat system just a bit, but you're going to end up kind of, you know, if you pick the same class, like you're going to, because you're carrying your main forward, it's going to feel a little bit different. And the stuff you engage with is going to be different, and the loot system's going to be different, and crafting professions usually level up and alter in some way, and like, so it's all going to feel a little different. And you're in this iterative process. And they're not as iterative as like something like a true single player experience can be, where like an Assassin's Creed can change place and time and combat system, and the whole thing can shift. It doesn't always, but it can. It can, every single aspect of an Assassin's Creed game can be totally reinvented from game to game to game to game. It's MMOs, by their very nature, in order to better preserve everybody bringing as much of their character forward to the next expansion as possible, are a lot closer to something like a FIFA or a Call of Duty game, where it's an annualized franchise that you're constantly paying into for small iterative steps. And we freak out about something being broken or something being dead, and it's usually just a small shift from last time. Usually they're constantly, and they'll pick one or two things and totally revamp them, but the vast majority of content, so that they can get it out the door, they're going to say, yeah, whatever we did last time, just do that. New skin, like new dungeons. Great. They're just like the old dungeons, but different. That's the majority of it. And so I think as a existing player, it's the first thought is, why are they going to do it easier than me? But they're not. They're in a different place in time. They're playing a legacy piece of content in current times. They're not playing that when it was current in past times. So you paid, let's say a game is $60 a year. It's not. MMOs are much more than that. But $60 a year. So you paid $5 a month for access to this game. And during that year, they delivered you an experience. And you paid in an initial upfront fee plus a monthly fee to continually gain access to the servers, which you did way back in the day when that servers used to go down for a long time. WoW would literally credit your account as like a giant I'm sorry, if any of you remember that. People freak out now about like an extra 6 hours of downtime, and it's like, you go back, trust me, there was some downtime, and these games, you get access to that, and they delivered that. That was the exchange, right? So you went into a restaurant and you sat down and you ordered a meal, and they brought you out the meal and they kept your drink full and you had a nice experience. And when you got up and left, they cleaned the plates, they cleaned the table, they served somebody else. And a month later, they changed the menu, and the item you ordered goes down in price, and a better item actually comes onto the menu at the old price. They say, hey, we've changed the way this works. We're actually able to offer this at a lower price, but we've also added this more premium item at the old price. And that's what we're doing. Does that screw you out of the fact that you bought it last month? No, you had to eat last month. You did eat last month. It was a fair exchange of goods. At the time, they said, this is how much it costs. You agreed to that price. You paid it. You were given a good or service in return. Otherwise, companies typically have to offer refunds. And that exchange was complete. And now you have an opportunity, if you want, to go to the same restaurant. And somebody else is going to come with you who's never been there. And they're going to sit down at the table and they're going to go, oh, I'm going to get that thing you got last time. That sounds really good. Oh, wow, it's $1 cheaper than what you paid. It doesn't cheapen that you had it before them. You still get to have had the memories of it being the new item and being around when everybody was freaking out about how good it was because nobody'd ever had it. You have things that they won't have. You got to experience it when it was the new thing, the best thing, when that was the most advanced thing that restaurant could put out. You got to do that, and that doesn't get taken away just because they get some smaller, cheaper version at a later date. It doesn't. It's yours, and you get to keep that. And now you're in current content, and they're not. They're in that old stuff. You want to delete your account and go back to the old stuff? Be my guest, but you don't. You want to be in current stuff. You have advantages over them, so just let them catch up. And so, like, I think this conversation kind of has those two components. It has, well, I don't want to be new. Well, you're always going to be new. Nobody has ever said, like, I want to run a marathon, but, like, the first 5 miles is so hard, so I'll just sit on the couch and wait till after the first 5 miles. That's not how that works. You got to get up and go. And sitting on the couch for another 5 years is not going to make it easier. That is not how our bodies age. So, like, you just got to go. And then the other side is us, the players. And this idea that because something was awful, unfair, mistreated, imbalanced, or even joyful for us, does not mean that we should hold every generation afterwards to having to, crank start their car and be buried in student loans and live through anything we live through. If they cure cancer and I got cancer and got better, I shouldn't have to be like, well, they should have to get cancer and go through what I went through. Like, life is full of bad experiences. Student loans is the obvious one without getting too political here, where it's easy to say, like, if they were to forgive some portion or make school more affordable for future generations, wouldn't that cheapen the fact that I struggled and scraped and earned and thank God had parents who could help me and a wife who did not graduate with student loans? Like, should everybody else have to go through at least what I went through or worse? I had many friends who did not have the levels of help that I did, and should they have to go through that? No, that doesn't that doesn't devalue the hard work that, like it just doesn't. There is no reason for future generations to have to struggle through, and it's the exact same in games. And honestly easier in games, right? Because we're not even talking about politics, religion, money, any of those things. We're talking about a game. It's a game. It's a game. It's a game. It doesn't matter. You might even be playing something else by the time they catch up. Who cares? It doesn't matter. It doesn't affect you. It's fine. It's not like they're getting something that it's not like, and new players get to actually get best in slot gear when they create their character, and you can't even earn that because you were playing before. Like, you will always be better than them. It's not going to give them the mechanical years of practice you have. It's not going to get them the knowledge of the systems that you have. It's not going to give them your memories that you have. There are all these advantages that the veteran player has over the new player, and the only way for the new player to get there is to get started. And so, like, they're going to have to put in the time. And having a shorter leveling experience doesn't take away from that. And I don't see why, if we really are proud of this content, if we really are proud of Shadowlands, Shadowbringers, whatever game we're playing, we should want people to be able to get to that, and continually asking them to go through 20 hours or 40 hours or 200 hours, or, well, you should have joined 20 years ago before probably some of these people weren't even born, and played the whole way. And since you didn't, you don't deserve to be in my game. But it's awesome though. Like, so I think welcoming in new players, and it's going to come at a cost. It's going to come, you're going to be in parties where people don't know the content, and they're going to mess up, and they're not going to be good at their class. And all of that. And for every person that gets better, there's some new person right behind them lining up to make the same mistake. So you're going to queue in that dungeon, and you're going to have to deal with a new person again. But just remember, at one point, you were that new person. And so I think that is it too late devolves very quickly into a should it be too late? And the answer to both in my mind is 100% no. It is never too late. Welcome to the game. Welcome to whatever MMO you are joining. Welcome, welcome, welcome. That is awesome. I hope you're having a blast. I hope you both smell the roses and get to cap. Kick it into gear. Smell what you do along the way. Enjoy your ride, but stay on the path. There's plenty of time to go off the path later. Come join us at the end. And then go back and smell all the things all the roses and all of the beautiful pieces of content that you didn't get to do because we were trying to get you to cap. We were trying to rush you through a streamlined experience to get you to the most relevant and ideally the best content we've ever had. Hopefully the best content we've ever had. It's not always, but it's at least the newest content we've ever had. And welcome. And to all of the existing players, how exciting. This is what allows for when one of us veterans of a game, or when I'm the new person, one of the old guard, when they step away to play something else or just take less time in games, this is what keeps that game from dying. This is what funds the game. This is what grows the community. And me being there is going to change it over time. The new player being there is going to change it a little bit, but that's okay. That's okay. It really isn't a big deal. So I just wanted to kind of talk about that. It's kind of come up a couple of different ways in comments and on stream this week. I kind of ranted a little more when I said it on stream. Definitely come hang out over there. I'm live from 8 a.m. to 2 p.m. Central, Monday through Friday. And the plan is to do that at least through the month of January. And then we'll address that schedule again for the month of February, which has some big events in it. So hopefully, everybody's looking forward to February. So that's it, guys. Thank you so much. Please keep letting me know what the ads are doing. Are they okay? Are they not okay? Like, I'm trying to let YouTube just handle it. I don't want to have to try to manually guess where they should be and shouldn't be. In theory, YouTube has tools that do this. I can see what other creators show me, and I can see what Work to Game has shown me and what Brian's channel has shown me. And we've done some tests between those to like what happens if we start to try to put in the work and try to guess, and actually we end up making it worse, not better, when we look at the stats that tell us what you guys are thinking. When we look at thumbs up versus thumbs down, we look at the number of comments, we look at the watch time. They actually show us where in a video, how many people are watching, so you can see the amount of viewers at each point, kind of like a stream summary, so that you can tell, like, okay, like I put all these ads in right at 6 minutes or 10 minutes, or one at 5 minutes and one at 35 minutes. Like, I put all these things in, and I can see like that ad caused people to leave. And so like it's a balance between like obviously I want to do a bunch of cool things with stream. So without getting too far off into that, like, that is a thing, and like that adds support stream. But like I also want to make content. Like I watch a lot of content and I get it, and I want to make the content that I would want to consume. And like I don't want to be in a video that has 9,000 ads in it. But like I also don't expect like everything to be ad free, especially if it's long form content. And so like hopefully I'm able to give you guys the kind of content and the kind of streams, and I'm able to start adding to the types of content that helps make you guys feel like whatever YouTube does with this gets it right, and that like this is an enjoyable place to come hang out. So that's what I want. I'm gonna give them like a week of my data, which runs like I think it's like 1 or 2 days behind. So I'm gonna give them a week of my data so that I have like something where I can look over, and it's not just maybe how one post did versus how another post did. So I'm not having to gauge if it's certain topics. And we're gonna have a week, and I'll look over everything, and then maybe I'll make some adjustments, and then I only have so many boxes I can check without just going into full manual, and then we'll evaluate again. So just figuring this out on this journey that is me just talking about games, kinda, and I appreciate you guys being along for the ride. The support has been amazing. It's absolutely invigorated me to want to keep creating and to want to find more chances to collab and to aim for bigger projects and bigger goals. And I look forward to seeing how many of those I can hit, and with you guys along for the ride, like the impacts that you guys have on the way I create this. Like I hope that you guys feel like the tiniest bit of like involvement in it. Like I hope I'm able to give that to you. I hope that I'm making something where you feel like, I gave him that suggestion and he followed it, and I commented on some stuff and he turned that into a video, and I asked for more of this type of content, and that's what he shifted towards. I don't want to make things that I want to make, but within like the spectrum of things that I'm excited to make, like I want to make the ones that are mostly what you guys want. So that's the end of the video rant for everybody that hangs out here. Thank you, and have a good day. Thanks for listening to me talk about games, kinda.